Hello. Welcome back, for the very first time to a baseball podcast between just some coworkers, and it's called Shaggin Balls. And we all love that name so much. Thanks, Kyle, for that suggestion. It's a great name. I am your host, Jake, and I am joined by Peter.
What's up, guys?
Casey.
Hello.
And J-Rob.
Yeah, you suck.
You son of a bitch.
So we've got four of us together in this episode. Future episodes, maybe we'll have some additional guests join us. Maybe all four of us won't be on, but for this one, this very first iteration of the podcast, we are all together and we've all brought topics to the table that we want to discuss about baseball, because guess what? We all miss baseball right now. We wish we were watching baseball instead of just talking about it, but we'll settle for talking about it because that's something that we all enjoy doing. So the first topic that we are going to discuss is my topic. My topic that I threw out to these guys is a question, because the other three in here are pretty big fans of other sports. And so just to mix it up a little bit, to step outside a little baseball, just to talk about sports in general, because every sport is down, is what athlete from another sport do you guys think would fit a specialist / like uncommon role, a non-star type role in baseball? While you think about that, my example that for you guys is a basketball player, an athlete from the land down under, Joe Ingles, who plays for the Utah Jazz, who came into the league, the NBA league, when he was like 30 years old as like a rookie. And he's just like, if you watch a basketball game, you're just like, how is that guy playing? Like, and he's like starting, he's a sharpshooter, and he's just kind of like, doesn't seem like your athletic type. So to me, that screams like lefty, like sidearm reliever who's just got like a slider that just works against lefties, and it always is a need in most bullpens. So I feel like I could see slow-mo Joe slinging the baseball from the left side of the rubber. What about you guys? Casey, who's your player?
I picked Donovan Mitchell to play some center field. Reason being is that Donovan Mitchell's a pretty good athlete. He's pretty quick. He's got a good swing. He has a baseball background. He's played up till his sophomore year till he suffered a broken wrist, and he gave his catcher a broken jaw when they both went for an infield pop-up and collided. He's just a pure athlete, and the dude's always got mad hops. I think him playing some center field, as you kind of brought up in other earlier topics we had about this, is he has a good wingspan, pretty good arm. Just an overall, he could help that Mets lineup too if he could give you maybe 270 to 290 batting average, hit about 60 RBIs, if that. Just, he won't be an all-star, but I compared him to like Martin Prado, just an overall durable player that's there year in, year out, kind of just helping your team out.
Yeah, I would like to see Spida Mitchell play in Fenway Park, see him range over into left center field and just climb the monster and rob a home run.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Hey, you got to dream crazy.
What do you guys?
Let's see what Pete thinks about. Well, I want to hear Pete before we gotta discuss any of these. I want to hear Pete's player. I've been waiting for this one.
Yeah, let's hear it like the rest of the players, and then we can talk about the players that we've picked.
I have. This was inspired. Me and Jake were in the break room the other day on lunch watching the 2009 World Series. Shout out the greatest team in baseball, the New York Yankees. And as we were watching, pinch hitter Matt Stairs comes up. Matt Stairs, most people probably know who he is. Pinch hitter. All he was trying to come was do and launch home runs. Never was a star. Never he was coming in to hit bombs. So my athlete that I picked is Charles Barkley. Just like Matt Stairs, not in the greatest shape. Not going to do much else for you on the baseball field. Not going to be a star. But he's a big boy. He's got some big, powerful legs. And if he's up there swinging and his only goal is to hit home runs as your pinch hitter, I believe he would be great at that.
That'd be awesome. He'd be great for a post-game comment as well.
That's true. That's
Do
true.
his own post-game show.
Seriously.
All right, J-Rob.
All
who's
right,
your player?
J-Rob.
Okay. You all three of you first of all went basketball.
We did.
I mean, I don't know. I'm going to throw some variety in there. But person I thought of, so imagine Colton Wong, obviously for everyone doesn't know, but I'm from St. Louis, big Cardinals fan, big Blues fan. So I actually picked a hockey player. But the person that I picked, Vladimir.
Nobody's gonna know who it is.
Yeah, you're not. Vladimir Sobotka. He's this 5'10" player. So he's a little for sports, he's a little shorter, especially hockey even. Weighs like 180, 190. But he's just got really good hands. And so I feel like I just imagine him as like a Colton Wong out there. I mean, Colton Wong was an all-star, but just more on the defensive side. He's not necessarily like a big hitter or like a lot of power or anything, but I just feel like he'd be a solid second baseman. He wouldn't have a strong enough arm to play like shortstop or anything, but I don't know. I probably should have picked a better person because
I think that's great. I liked how you picked like a certain trait of like a player. They're like, he has good hands. It's like, oh yeah, that translates to fielding. I can see that. I just wish I knew who he was.
If you want to look him up, super quick, Vladimir Sobotka.
Nobody else that listens to him will know who this is either. So you could have just made him up.
That's what I'll do later. But
So I guess for Pete, my question for Pete is so you said Charles Barkley is strictly like a pinch hitter, like
That's it.
DH kind of guy.
Exactly.
He's Matt Stairs.
So he would fit better in an AL club then, wouldn't he? Per se, like maybe
absolutely.
Yep.
I'm hoping my Yankees sign him for the postseason. I do hope his baseball swing is a little bit nicer than his golf swing. I'm sure everybody's seen clips of that, so I hope it's a little bit more smooth. But still, all he's doing up there is I want him to hit a clutch bomb for me in a pinch hitting situation.
How funny would he be if he did have that like janky of a swing? Like his golf swing, he just has to get it started like right when the pitcher gets the sign.
Yeah, right when before their windup starts, he's got to start swinging.
Yeah,
that would be. I mean,
so I guess with like
on the average, but
so I guess it's safe to say it's if we have MJ on the diamond and we have Charles Barkley on the diamond, like what's going down? Like, is MJ going to hit 45 bombs because he said his name, or like we all know how MJ works?
Maybe that's what MJ needed.
20s on home plate.
With him. Yeah, if Charles went to baseball with him, MJ would have made the majors. He would have been so motivated to prove that he was better. He would have made himself make the majors.
The truth.
Isn't that crazy? Just while we're on that topic, like think about it. Like you have like how baseball, it's kind of that platform where other athletes go to. Like obviously Tim Tebow currently with the Mets, but like Bo Jackson did both football and baseball. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Michael Jordan. Like isn't that kind of crazy?
It is.
Like
even
these big name athletes,
Danny Ainge, John Elway, all sorts of guys got drafted in multiple sports.
Tom Brady,
it's pretty much always baseball.
Tom Brady, the GOAT, was drafted at one point. Like, let that sink in.
Did not even know that.
He was drafted in baseball?
I want to say he was. Let me look that up just before I make a call.
Shut up.
No, you got to man up to that.
He totally could. Like, I don't know that much about Tom Brady.
J-Rob made up a player.
We get one made up thing per podcast.
It's up to our fans to just pick out what's fake and what's not.
You have to find each lie from each one of us throughout the podcast. Little Easter egg. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. We'll go on to Peter's. Peter, you want to introduce your topic is?
Before we move on, he was drafted in the 18th round of the 95 draft by the Expos.
Oh,
out of high school.
What, 95th, you said?
15th.
No, he was the 18th round in the 95 draft by the Expos. Oh. He was drafted.
Thank you.
Pre-college in Michigan. That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
All right, sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
No, you're a son of a bitch.
You still have a line.
Sorry, I guess you're good, but disrespectful. My topic is a player that you hated their whole career. But the caveat is it can't be like from a rival team or you hated them because they're a cheater. Like you just hate them. You don't really know why. There's not an explanation. You just never liked him. My guy that I'm going with for this one is Justin Verlander. And now, obviously, he played for the Astros, so he's a dirty cheater. And there's reasons to hate him, but even his whole career when he first came up with the Tigers, I just never liked the guy. And so
now, before we move on that, Pete, I want you to think about this while we're answering your question. But so you're a Yankees fan, right? So
absolutely.
If Verlander cheated, doesn't that mean Garrett Cole cheated?
Ouch, got him.
Yeah,
I mean, okay.
Well, yeah.
We know some people. I won't call any names. Braden Thorpe, but I mean, some people don't think that that he cheated. Garrett Cole did nothing wrong out of that entire 20-man roster. Garrett Cole was the same.
No,
I had to bring that up.
The whole organization is guilty. So, but I mean, baseball is a lot about cheating. So we're just hoping he's not bringing the cheating to the Yankees.
And the Astros were, every club does it. There's only some get caught.
Well, not my Yankees. We're not allowed facial hair or cheating.
Or the Mariners obviously aren't cheating because the Mariners can't get past 61.
No, they are cheating. They just suck at it. So
they just don't have the players to capitalize
at baseball.
All right. Well, Jake, do you want to start us off with your player question?
I wish I had like more of a little older player, because I know there's probably some players from my childhood that would come to mind better. But one player that I just haven't cared for really at all is recently, since he's come up, has been Rhys Hoskins. I can't tell you why. Maybe it was the double ear flap for a little while, but maybe it was because he got super hot when he first came up, and everyone's like, dude, this guy's incredible. He's the next thing. And then he just had a meh season. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't get it. He's just a first baseman. He's nothing to really write home about. So for me, Rhys Hoskins, he's never been a guy I've really rooted for, I guess.
Okay.
Other people were Bregman and other Astro players and stuff, and Dodgers for me.
Yeah.
But those are reasons. Cool.
Valid. I think mine, I don't know. Mine's weird because mine's actually a Cardinals player, or not current, but former, but John Mabry. I don't know if you guys know who that is or if you remember him. I mean, he's definitely retired now, but I think he was a Cardinals coach.
He was part of
a while as well.
Trade and Moneyball, wasn't he? Or is that somebody else?
He might have been. I don't know. Let me see. I'm actually looking up stuff right now.
I didn't even think about my own, the Padre players. There's a lot of players that just came to mind. Freaking Sean Burrows. I hated that guy.
Yeah.
He could have hit a damn slider.
With Moneyball, early 2000s. I mean, he was
2001, 2002, I think.
Yeah. So in 2002, he played for Oakland, and then he got traded to the Phillies because he played for both those teams in 22 or 02. Okay. He's with us from 04 to 05, and then, 94 to 98. He's with us in 2001, and then he got traded, and he's with us 04 to 05. Maybe part of the reason I hated him, and I was a young kid. I mean, I was the third time he's with us or whatever. I was 10 years old, but I just always remember, he would come off the bench because this is, later part of his career, 04 to 05, but he'd come off the bench, pinch hitter, oh yeah, this guy's got power. Maybe not power. He only had 96 home runs, but I'm like, why the hell are we bringing this guy off the bench? He sucks. He strikes out like crazy. Wow, I can't speak. He had a 263 career batting average, which is pretty good. But I feel like that's got a dip. I don't know. Just memory has it. He was an ass player, and I hated him. Then we signed him. I'm just like, why can we not get rid of this guy? We had 3 separate times on a baseball team, and then now we want him as a coach.
You guys need Charles Barkley to come in and hit.
Yeah, seriously. He was a coach for us from 2012 to 2018. So.
Oh, wow. Long time. Just recently. Was it Mike Matheny when he left?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah, because 2012, La Russa retired after the 2011 World Series. So, yeah, he came in with Matheny. So, which makes sense as well because him and Matheny probably played together for almost all of those times.
Yeah, true. I wonder if he's with Matheny now with the Royals.
He is actually, yeah, because it says 2020 to present. The Kansas City Royals. So I don't know. I think he was our batting coach. I can't remember for sure, but it's same thing with that. It's why is this guy our batting coach? He could not hit when he was with us. I know he's teaching our players how to hit. No wonder we went on a 3-year drought without making the playoffs because this ass was our hitting coach. don't know. So there's reasons. I guess that's void for or doesn't work with people.
There's a lot of reasons behind that. It's like,
But I like that there's a hate for his own player. Yeah, Brett Gardner's one for you.
Brett Gardner. I've hated Brett Gardner his whole career, and we keep signing him and letting him play every damn year.
Casey, you got a player?
For me, yeah. So it was earlier. I mean, JR probably agrees with me on this one. I hated Joey Votto. I don't know what it was, but then I was like, there's gotta be something better. Like, there's someone that I just couldn't think of, but like I could like picture him, And it finally just came to me. I couldn't tell you guys. I can't say that. It's, you know what's going on, the protest. It's Manny Ramirez. I don't know what it was.
What?
But I hated Manny Ramirez. I don't know if it's because like just how, to me, an idiot. Like let's go back to like that double cut that Johnny Damon had in center field. He throws it, and then Manny Ramirez out of butt fuck nowhere dives and cuts it off, and you're like, what the hell is this dude doing? Like, and then like at the time I don't like the Dodgers. I'm not a Dodger fan. I'm a Mariners fan. But when he signed with the Dodgers, it just gave me more hate too. Because I don't like the Red Sox either. It just gave me like this. It just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. I don't like Manny Ramirez.
He was trying to help out the worst outfield arm of all time in Johnny Damon. He was just trying to help him out. He knew he couldn't make it there.
But then like he went and took a shit in the Green Monster for like 3 pitches, and like where the hell did Manny go? Or like in Baltimore when he caught that pop up, high fives the dude.
He's a fan interaction.
He took like 5 steps, high five the bat, and then threw it. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like this goes against like I can just see like Terry Francona probably going, oh god, it's him doing again.
That's funny. As a Yankees fan, Manny's one of the few Red Sox players that I ever liked.
Oh yeah,
like that cheating ass David Ortiz, who's that son of a bitch. But Manny, I just enjoy.
Hey, I'll agree with you there, Pete. I hate David Ortiz. Screwed us in 04.
Just an absolute son of a bitch right there. But
hey, fun fact about David Ortiz: at one point, he was in the Mariners organization.
And the Twins, and then he got to Boston. They loaded him up with a whole bunch of roids.
No, well, hold on, Casey. Back to what you said. So your point is, because the Mariners are such a great organization, they let yet another star slip through their fingers and they could have had him.
We don't talk about that.
You're the one who brought this up. So,
which Mariner you want to talk about? A-Rod?
A-Rod, Griffey. The only one that was loyal at all was Edgar Martinez, and that dude didn't start his major league career until he was like 27. I think hell, even Ichiro wanted out at one point.
Yeah.
It's a
lot of legends, so not a lot of winning.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm still haunted by 2001.
Me too.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. I think we'll go with J-Rob's topic next, and then we'll wrap up with Casey's because it's more of a baseball discussion topic. Well, these next two are kind of so. Let's go ahead with yours, J-Rob. You want to introduce it?
Yeah. So kind of what I wanted to talk about, or one thing I was thinking of, is kind of the World Baseball Classic. And then with that, though, obviously in that realm, like, is it even relevant? And then, like, should the U.S. care more? Because, I was looking up a little bit about it or whatever. And let's see, let me get back to that page I was on. But so it seems like it started only in like 2006 was the first time. And then the second time was 2019, and then from there it's been every 4 years. So the next one's going to be in 2021, supposed to be in Miami. The United States has only won one time. The Dominican Republic, and that was in 2017, the most recent time. The Dominican Republic won in 2013, and then Japan won in 2006 and 2009. And then so I was like curious, is like, wow, how many players are in the MLB from Japan? They've won. It's only again been 4 times, but they've half the amount of times, and there's only been a total of 58 Japanese-born players to play at least one major league game. So it's probably not a ton, but how many of those have only played like maybe they're role players or like bench players that just got pinch hits, things like that? Because there's only 6 currently in the MLB roster. So it's like, why does Japan win? Like, again, they haven't won since 2009, but I don't know, should the United States care? Or is it just like whoever? I remember Puerto Rico this last time was pretty good with Javi Baez and Yadier Molina. I just remember that one throw Yadi got, and then Baez caught it and tagged him without even looking. He's like pointing back at Molina or whatever. Like, that was one of the sickest plays of all time in just baseball history. But just the flair of it. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'll kind of start off because I kind of hit in my head with that. I think it's relevant. I think this is kind of like the baseball Olympics in a sense. Since baseball is no longer in the Olympics, this is kind of what we have to kind of showcase as a country. I think the U.S. should care more. I think if you look at like countries like Mexico, Japan, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, like these fans are going nuts for it, like absolutely ballistic for this team. You know, because it's kind of like their pride, their home team in a sense, if you will. Even like with the Puerto Rico series, like Francisco Lindor a few years back, when he played in Puerto Rico in front of his home crowd, like, he loved it. Like the fans went crazy for it. Yeah. And the U.S., like I think the U.S., and I hate to say this, but like because like baseball is my favorite sport. Like out of all the 4 major sports, if you want in the United States, like baseball's on the down low.
Fourth sport in there.
Yeah, no. Basically, the top 3 are baseball, football, football, basketball. Oh yeah, spike ball. You can't be spike ball. But baseball is kind of losing its kind of like, I guess in a sense, its pastime. People are going more toward football just because they say it's quicker or whatever, basketball because there's always action. But like, baseball is such in my opinion, a beautiful sport. Like it's a fair sport too. Like it takes 9 players to win a game, not one. I mean, yeah, sure, one player can dominate a game, but in a day, like it's a team sport, a true team sport. And especially with basketball, like LeBron, I guess if you were watching The Last Dance, like Jordan could take over a game, Kobe could take over a game, LeBron could take over a game. You know, more so football is more of a team sport than basketball, but in a sense still, like baseball is America's pastime. And I think like as Americans, like we've kind of lost our sense of how great this sport is. And a lot of the players like Trout, Judge, Bellinger, like Acuna Jr., like a lot of these players are bringing like the attention back to the sport. And, you know, like I told J-Rob like way back in February when the whole cheating scandal thing came out, you know, I was like, it's kind of making a bad rap for baseball. But then J-Rob said, well, I mean, it's publicity to publicity. There's no bad press. Like this is getting people back into the sport. So I think the U.S. should care more. I mean, like I said, like this is kind of like the baseball Olympics, if you will. Like these are all players that are U.S. born, like that are representing your country, you know. And if a lot of people are, you know, patriotic about it, like they are with the Olympics, like this should be just as big as the Olympics. I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things and all that. Casey and Pete, you guys touched on Jake and Pete touched on some things, but like one, I feel like baseball going with like it being America's pastime or people going towards other sports. And I don't want to go too much on this because it's a tangent that I could go on forever. I feel like baseball is more of like a person who's patience type of game. Like, I mean, because it is slower pace and everything. Like, obviously, fast-paced games. Like, why I love hockey is because it's so fast-paced. Like, I mean, especially going to games, just so like moving so quick and everything. Obviously, baseball's not like that. Like, baseball's so slow they had to put a timer on how long you could take between pitches. Like, it's that type of game. So, like, people who aren't very patient, I feel like, don't really love baseball. Or I've always said, like, people have a lack of knowledge of how baseball is played, or like how to understand it and everything, and so they don't get it, which then relates to them or correlates to them like not liking it as much. But one thing, I mean, you brought up Mexico. Mexico has not even been in the top 4 for they haven't won. They haven't been the runner up. They didn't get 3rd place. They didn't get fourth place in any of the 4 times it's been around, which surprised me because it's like, Mexico's pretty good. I feel like there's a lot of players in the major leagues that are from Mexico. So, and like the Netherlands have come in 4th twice. South Korea is on there. They were runner-ups in 2019 or 2009. Venezuela. So yeah, I mean, I do think like a lot of countries get hyped for it, but I just feel like the United States, like who played in 2017? I mean, obviously we had some good players, but I feel like it's almost like basketball or more like, I don't know, I was trying to think of a sport to where like, I guess like football in their all-star game or whatever they call it. Like half the players don't go because they don't want to get hurt because they don't really care. Like, and that's how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe that's just my opinion, or like I see it differently. But I feel like half the time the players don't care because it's just. I feel like just in general with any sports nowadays, players are just like trying to prevent themselves from getting injured as much as possible. Like they don't care as much about like playing for their country or things like that as much as they did, as much as the players did like 20, 30 years ago. But I don't know.
Pete,
Jake,
you want to
you're
go?
all right. I'll go perfect. So I disagree with Casey, and I would say I don't think it's relevant at all. And I think he brought up the topic that it's not in the Olympics anymore, and that's what makes it not as relevant to people because it's not an Olympic sport. Like in the Olympics, where like there's that mega focus on representing America, like that's when we get all the attention. And then just like J-Rob was saying, like with basketball, it's just like the U.S. team, this last time they played, lost the World Cup, but America doesn't really care because it's not like this is the big Olympic year. Like we're sending all our great best players. Because if America loses that in basketball, even though there's other great countries, obviously, in basketball in the world, Spain, like, a bunch of other places that like are really good, respectable basketball teams. America's better, just like in baseball. I mean, you have Japan, you have the Dominican Republic and everything that have like obviously a lot of good players, but it's America's sport, America's pastime. Like if America sent their best, they should absolutely win without a doubt. But because it's not that big of a deal, like people don't really care if America loses, so people don't feel the need to go represent and things, just like they don't feel the need to represent America in the World Cup. But if it was in the Olympics, then I think it'd be a lot bigger deal where people would.
Yeah, you make a great point. And like I'm looking at this roster right now. I pulled up the roster, and there's only a few names that really like are like in a sense like part of the premier players. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt was on there. Alex Bregman, Nolan Arenado, Buster Posey, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Andrew McCutcheon. I mean, there's heroes like on there, like Adam Jones was probably like one of the best players on that roster at the time, or he played the best in my opinion. But I mean, there's not like there's that 6 guys I named. There's 25 on the roster. Like there's just not a lot of names on there that people. And so yeah, you make a great point there, Pete. Like. It's not an Olympics. It's not in the Olympics, so people don't really want to go. I mean, this is, and even then, the World Baseball Classic's in the middle of spring training, so it makes sense to both your and J-Rob's points that people don't want to get hurt. They don't want to ruin their upcoming season with their major league clubs to play in this. I mean, so yeah, you guys are both right on that one. I can see where you're both coming from with that.
Do you guys think, and I guess Pete, for kind of you as well, and this is kind of going off like to a different sport as well, like, but you just brought up basketball, like in players, I mean, how this last time didn't even like care, like people, or there was just, I mean, almost every other day it seemed like more and more players were like taking their names out of the hat to play for the team because they're like, for whatever reason, they didn't want to get hurt, didn't want to play, whatever. And then I just remember watching like SportsCenter or whatever, and they're all talking about like, I was like, oh, like with Greg Popovich being the coach, or just with, like, are they going to let these players come back? I mean, probably certain ones, but they're also talking about like certain players leaving, and then that probably be their only opportunity to get to the Olympic team if they needed it. Like that was kind of their entry, but because they're not going to go, they didn't get it. But do you feel like, do you feel like across all sports though? So I just had to touch on that, but across all sports, just as Americans or just as the world, like the Olympics and things are losing just their touch as well? Or like, no, do you feel like that's still pretty strong, or like world competition?
I feel like that's definitely more of an American thing because pretty much every summer, all the foreign players still play for the national team.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter the like prestige of the competition. Whereas America is like, oh yeah, the Olympic team, I want to be on that. The World Cup Olympic team, I don't really care as much. Like I'm going to go enjoy my summer. Shout out Scottie Pippen. But if like it's the Olympics, they want to go. But like in every other country, I feel like their main players like just have more of a civic pride or whatever you want to call it. But they like want to go represent more, and that's why I feel like if you read off like Javi Baez and Yadier Molina, went and played for their country. but there wasn't the best U.S. catcher and the best U.S. shortstop playing for their country.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jake?
No, I think you guys bring up some really good points. I think as far as the basketball thing, the thing that popped in my head for stars wanting to go play in the Olympics, I feel like at least for LeBron in that generation, I mean, it's never a question of is the USA going to be the best team? I think it was more of a competition maybe for the collective group of players of, are we better than like the dream team? I think the dream team inspires a lot of stars to go play in the Olympics. But outside of that, the baseball is returning to the next Olympics. It was out of it the last few, but it is going to return to Tokyo next year. But there's not that really rich history with the Olympics with baseball because it's always happened in the middle of summer, and baseball players have never taken the time off to go play in the middle of the year. It just won't ever be like America's calling card to go play baseball and go win the Olympics because there's just too much money investment with all the teams to set that up.
Well, I feel like with you saying that too, like going back into the Olympics, and if it's middle of the summer, I don't think major leaguers are going to want to take the time off to go play. So, I mean, in a sense, that kind of could make it more interesting, or the U.S. just not even being relevant in that, because if you're a major league player, you're playing under contract. You're in the middle of June or July, August. You're playing your season, not in Tokyo.
Right. And I think with baseball, it's also tough for it to make it feel really meaningful because the Premier League happens over 162 game season, and then you have best of 5 and best of 7 series to decide the overall champion. And with the World Baseball Classic being in the beginning of the season, it's when baseball players can go play, major league players, but it's not their peak condition. Like they're not in like mid-season form by any means, because you're going to have all the starting pitchers who are restricted by a certain pitch limit. So it's like, I think, is it relevant? Yes. Should the U.S. care more? I don't think so. I think the U.S. winning will be really good to motivate other countries and to help spread the game. I love the fact that Japan has been back-to-back champions to start off, that they just have like a culture that they're building around. I just want the game to spread. And I think hosting the World Baseball Classic and for like teams like the Netherlands or Puerto Rico to say, yeah, we beat America, I think is really good for the sport to help spread throughout their youth, to help more of the game. And then it can be maybe contagious within America itself. But it's just hard, I think, for Americans to really go and watch the game when they know like this isn't the premium product that we offer for baseball.
Yeah. Well, and I even think so. Like when you think of like the World Cup for soccer, like I feel like the U.S. gets behind that. Like when it's the World Cup, especially women's. Like right now, just because they've been really good the last 2 World Cups. Men's, obviously, they didn't even make the World Cup this last time, but. But who watches the MLS or the Women's Professional Soccer League? I apologize, I should know the name of that. But some people obviously watch that, but I feel like the World Cup, so many Americans turn out for that.
Yeah.
But like for baseball, I'm sure some people tune in for like the World Baseball Classic, but by no means do I think it's on the same level, or at least for people like paying attention to it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like. If say the Netherlands beat the United States, even if it wasn't in like the finals, like their whole country is going to be like, and maybe we're wrong, just assuming, but they're like, yeah, we beat the United States in baseball or whatever.
The baseball community at least.
Yeah. And then even though like we potentially didn't have like our best roster, like they're not going to care about that. They're not going to bring that up. But all they're going to say is, oh yeah, we beat the United States, which yeah, I agree. Like would spread the game, because then it's going to be like maybe dreams do come true, like just more players. And yeah, hopefully, that spreads to the United States. But I looked up the Puerto Rican roster from 2017, and yeah, there's like, I know so many of these players. Like, this is like a legit lineup compared to the United States. And it's like, the United States, obviously, there's still players on there. Like Carlos Beltran, obviously, he was at the end of his career, but Pagan, he was with the Giants. who else? Like Rivera, Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa, Javi Baez, like just those infielders right there. You have a stud. Like that's a major league infield, like almost for an all-star game right there with those three. Like, and then a lot of pitchers, Yadier Molina, Soto, like just a bunch of people on that team.
Yeah, and I just love seeing. I love seeing the pride that those Latin players come out and show. Like, it's always Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Japan, South Korea that do well, but I think it is also the primary sport for each one of those countries. Like USA is weird. Like, there's just so much of us, but we have the three like most popular sports, except for soccer, I guess. But like, if we assemble the best players from the USA, from baseball, basketball, there's no doubt we win. And guess what? We win freaking football too, but nobody else plays it. So it's not even a question, you know? It's just like, it's just so weird to me to think back and be like, dude, like I live in the country where like those top, like the premium sports leagues are here outside of soccer. So it's just like kind of funky for like the World Baseball Classic. I think the World Baseball Classic is really good. I think it's better than the Olympics. Like it could be more meaningful potentially. But I think it just needs to be played more. I think it needs more history to it. It's just so early. Yeah. Like, it's not the FIFA World Cup, you know? Yeah. Like, that's got history. That's, I think, why we show up, you know? Like, that's broadcasted, like, on ABC, ESPN. Like, World Baseball Classics broadcast on MLB Network and only some of the games, you know?
Yeah.
I do have a
Harold Reynolds.
Harold Reynolds. Love that.
What do you say, Pete?
I just have a couple points. I think the, like, thing you brought up is interesting. And you even mentioned like the U.S. women's soccer team for the World Cup. Like everyone pays attention to that, and even though we don't pay attention to the women's league, which I also don't know the name of.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm gonna look up. I feel bad.
We got to be better people. Yeah, I can like name a couple of teams, but I can't freaking think of the name of the league, which is embarrassing for us. But
National Women's Soccer League.
National Women's Soccer League.
I'm never going to forget that.
NWSL, yeah. All right, let's all get that matching tattoo so we never forget. But, like, that's the best of the best of the women that we're bringing. And so, like, everyone's hyped because we get to go support the best of the best.
True.
But, like, the men, we know we don't have the best of the best. And I don't even think a lot of the, like, best men's soccer players play. Like, I know Christian Pulisic. I don't know if that's what you say his name. Pulisic, yeah. Is like the best, most hyped men's like American soccer player in the world right now. And he like wasn't on the qualifying team or something. So it's like they're not necessarily, we know we're not bringing the best of the best, and the best of the best aren't even like playing for us. So it's like a lot easier to not support, which is like, I feel like if we did have all the US stars playing for the World Baseball Classic team, like there would be a lot more following. Whereas like when we have like 3 or 4 guys that are good, but the rest of the roster is like, you know, guys that are backups and like, I mean, still solid players, obviously, but not like absolute stars that you're like trying to follow. I think that like explains why it's not as big of a deal in America.
Yeah, in America, sure.
Or could be.
I feel like Americans, if we're not winning, we pay attention a lot less. Like especially on the global stage. Like the men's national team, I feel like ratings have been down. Like, especially this last time, just because, like, we lost to Trinidad and Tobago or whatever their name is. No offense to that country or anything, but just like
soccer, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, it was there. We did play there. But that team, like, I don't know the last time that team made the World Cup, but I know it's been forever. And we lost like 3-1 or something. It wasn't even like close. And all we had to do was draw to get into the World Cup. And we lost the game. Like, and so I feel like Americans, because we don't even win, like, they just don't care, like, for men's soccer as much. Because, I mean, you'll always, in every sport, you have your fanatics or people that are going to watch, like, no matter what.
Yeah.
But as a country as a whole, like, no one's going to pay attention because, well, and again, not no one, but because they're not winning. I feel like Americans, compared to other countries, are much more like that. Like, at least for soccer, you go to like France, England, whatever, their team could be ass, but they're going to still watch and cheer on their team because they just have so much pride in the country in the sport.
Yep.
I agree.
So overall, I love the question. I hope it grows like more in like the Europe countries as well. And it's not just like the core 4 like countries that are there every year. Because that'd be really cool to dip into that market, just to be able to produce some baseball talent from there. But yeah, I think the I think we kind of would like to see more of the WBC just move along, but it's a small thing right now. Like most Americans couldn't even tell you what if you said WBC, they'd be like, what? Yeah, exactly. You don't know what it is. You don't even know like America won. But moving on, Casey, you want to go ahead and tell us your topic, your question for us?
Yeah, for sure. But before we do that, I'm gonna make you guys think a little bit. We're gonna throw back and blast in the past to last year to this day. I did this with Jake the other day. All right, no looking. You can't cheat. I expect none of you to get this right, but we're gonna start with you, Jake. So, who played last year on this day, and did you win or did you lose?
We played against the Marlins.
Yep. Did you win or lose?
Well, I'll go with a loss.
Yep, you lost 9-3. Ooh.
We won yesterday, apparently, to the Marlins.
Hey, won yesterday. How many wins did the Marlins get last year? And then you were one of those wins last year in this day.
Man.
There was a great moment. Right. I saw Derek Dietrich on a podcast or like a video, and the guy's like, "So, how are the minor leagues that you tape?" Derek Dietrich had played for the Marlins, if you guys are unaware, or anybody who's listening, and he plays for the Reds now. So the guy goes, "So tell us me about the minor league teams you played for." He's like, "The Salt Lake City Bees and the Miami Marlins," and he's like, "What? Minor league team?" He's like, "Oh, they have a major league team now? I didn't know that." Anyways, I thought it was funny. Sorry to cut you off.
You're good. All right, so J-Rob, did you win or lose last year, and who did you play?
Well, you told me today that we played the Cubs, so I'm going to guess the Cubs is who we played.
Yep.
And then we won yesterday, you said. And Cubs last year, I mean, they're decent, but the Cubs suck, so I'm going to say we won.
Yep, you won 7-4.
And that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Gab got, by the way, I can't say this name. It's Marficia. I can't even say it. Jake, sorry to butcher your pitcher's name. He's a 2-6 at the time of the 540 ERA. Yep, Mark Gavages. He's ass.
Yeah, he's
Gant won for the Cardinals.
Oregon anymore.
Tyler Chatwood lost for the Cubs. Pete,
Chatwood.
did you win or lose on this day last year, and who did you play?
Unlike the other two that you gave hints to and already told.
Come on, Pete. June 1st.
You should know. You don't remember June 1st, 2019, bro?
Weirdly enough, I do not.
You're probably at Nike working.
Always, every day, cashing that check, baby. So I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. They're in your division.
I would guess Baltimore.
You're wrong.
Same letter though. First letter.
Same letter.
Boston.
Yeah.
Boston. Did you win or did you lose?
I mean, of course we beat them. The Red Sox are ass.
You're right. This time you beat them 5-3. Green was your winning pitcher, but he had an ERA at this point of 9.72. But Chapman saved your ass for his 17th save.
Green's not even good, and we still beat him. That's how ass they are.
For anyone that cares, the Mariners did lose 6-3 to the Angels.
Jake's editing this out anyways. Say it if you want to.
All right. So back to the main topic now, my question. So
wait. Before one last cut in. We did this yesterday, and Casey, they won. He said the Mariners and the Angels, and they won. And the pitcher that they beat was Tyler Skaggs.
Yeah, I was like, wow. This is a bad moment.
It's a downer. That's a real downer.
I was like, oh, okay. Rip.
Well, that's okay. That was a fast back. All right, so I know there's a new proposal today. This is June 1st, but there's or not necessarily a proposal, but there's been talks of a different season then. And we're just using this as an idea to kind of just think a little bit as like a GM and kind of like if you're give you an idea if your team's in the winning window. How you kind of approach this kind of season, if you will. I'm just going to give you a quick little rundown. So this proposal that Harper had on Instagram, for you that don't follow, kind of recap it. Basically, it's a July through November season. There's 135 games. You're dividing it to an East-West like the NBA. You have an off day every 2 weeks on a Monday. And Sundays are a doubleheader 7-inning games. So you have 2 games, 7 innings. You get a 30-man roster, so that's a bump up 4 extra players from your 26 they expanded for this year. You have a 6-man rotation instead of your 5, which means you always could have a 6-man rotation, but it's not kind of a standard. Both East and West have a DH. You have a 10-team round-robin playoff format. You play at the new Texas Stadium. Harper did say in there that if Vegas would host, that would help, but I kind of left that part out because I just don't know if Vegas would be in the spot, nor if they could host. They only have a AAA stadium. I just don't know if that would suffice and how players would do that. But it kind of gives a chance to showcase the new Texas Stadium.
Dude, they should do it in the Raider Stadium.
That'd be pretty dope. I wouldn't be mad. So you have your series. The series win moves on in the best of 3 games. The loser plays in a wild card game to other losers. The loser will stay in the tournament, but basically kind of like a round robin, kind of like super regional NCAA kind of format. The loser obviously just out. When you're down to your 2 teams, they'll play a best of 7 series as a World Series. Before that, you get 2 days off to where they would have an all-star game and a home run derby. So that's kind of how he projected the season to go, or how, like, just an idea, I guess. And I thought it was interesting because he made a few things in there. I think the East and West is kind of an interesting topic. 135 games, that's a lot of games. I mean, that's only about 30 less than an average MLB season. And only an off day every 2 weeks. I mean, that's a lot of workload for these players. I mean, granted, these are professional athletes, and Chipper Jones said he doesn't want to hear athletes, professional baseball players bitching about playing a game. But I mean, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of baseball we played. I guess what I want you to kind of think about is how your 6-man roster would look. And I have all your guys' rosters pulled up on my laptop of your depth chart, I guess, for your roster at the moment for 2020. And what your kind of thoughts is like, hey, would you kind of play it like a win now scenario? Would you want to maybe, like, for me, I'll kind of just lead it off with the Mariners. And for the Mariners, I have Marco Gonzalez, Yusei Kikuchi, Justice Sheffield, Justin Dunn, Kendall Graveman, and Wei Yin Chin as my 6 rotation. And I would bring up more of my minor leaguers, kind of get my younger guys the at-bats, and just the major league experience. Because, I mean, still 135 games is a lot of games. And you have already your 26-man roster set. Bring in the 4 extra AAA players that are basically ready to go, knock on the door, get in the major league at-bats. I would use it more as just a learning curve for them, because the Mariners aren't going to win. It breaks my heart to say that, but the Mariners aren't going to win. We're not in a position to win, especially with the Astros. The A's are good. The A's, I think, are ranked like 10th in the power ranking. I don't know how the hell they got up that far. The Rangers are good. The Angels got Rendon. They got Trout. Like, the Mariners are just the laughing stock of the AL West, and it sucks, but our future is bright. I mean, I kind of look at it as like 7 years ago, and the Astros lost 106 games, and they turn around, and, I mean, obviously they're cheating, but if they can cheat their way to a 100-win season in a World Series title, I mean, why can't the Mariners do it? So, and mine's not very in depth because I'm using it as basically extended spring training, Major League AAA team. That's how I'm using it. But it's kind of interesting to see how, like, especially like with Pete being a Yankees fan, how he would kind of treat that. Especially when, like, Jake and J-Rob, how their teams are good, but, you know, you're not, I guess, in that money tier of Pete, but you're good enough to compete. Like, how would you guys? I mean, I kind of want to start off with Pete and get Pete's idea and kind of filter down. Like, what do you think of that, Pete?
So I like the idea of just, trying to get in as much baseball as possible, because, obviously we all love baseball. It's like, I definitely love the aspect of thinking the game, and, like, even though a lot of people think it's slow and, like, takes forever, like, there's so much strategy and stuff in baseball that it's exciting. So the more we get of that, obviously it's better this year. I do worry, especially as, you guys all know, people that don't, follow baseball as closely, the Yankees, especially the past few years, have been very injury prone as a team.
Oof, last year was tough.
Yeah, last year was tough. I mean, Judge and Stanton have already both been hurt this year and, haven't played anything. So we have a little bit more of a fragile team.
Hey, with that
So-
30-man roster, does Jacoby actually get invited to come back to the clubhouse?
He does not. Jacoby, don't even know who the hell you're talking about. Fuck that guy. but so I think you'd either have to expand the rosters even a little bit farther than that, or build in more off time. Just because, like, I mean, we've lost, a month to 2 months of the season already. So to only lose 30 games when you're losing 60 days, like, that's pretty extreme, I would say. But I do like, especially without travel and stuff, it's not quite as hard, but that might be pushing it some. So I don't like that aspect of, like, potentially making everyone injured and overworked already. And then the other thing about his, like, proposal that I think, especially as a team that, has a chance of winning the title this year, unlike some of you guys' sorry squads, I think the playoffs, if you can try to keep the playoffs as close as it can be to what it is in a normal year, would just give your champion a lot more validity when people look back. Like, obviously it's a weird season, but, like, if the postseason is basically the same, it's a lot more like, oh no, they had to go through the things the other team did to win the title, rather than a lot of people can be like, oh, it was a cheap title, they wouldn't have won it. So I think that.
So you want to see more. You want to see more of like a standard playoff format, not necessarily a round robin tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you got to have your pitchers that you're counting on to win you multiple games. Maybe pitching 3 games.
And looking at your kind of depth chart that the Yankees have posted for your roster or for your rotation. You have Garrett Cole, Masahiro Tanaka, J.A. Happ, James Paxton, and basically Domingo Germán, Severino. Yeah, so you have
we do have a ton of pitchers we could throw out. But I said, I think because if you're playing around robin, like, you're getting out early, and you only have Garrett Cole can win you 2 games a series, then it makes it a lot.
The only thing that scares me about that is if you're the Yankees, I guess it's kind of like just me kind of playing to what's given to you, kind of like taking what's given. Is, as you know, you got James Paxton for the Mariners. James Paxton has never. I mean, he pitched a few innings, I guess, a few games in this year's playoffs and didn't do too bad. But would that experience, kind of, I guess, worry you? It's kind of the same reason, the Braves, kind of like with Felix Hernandez, he's never been into a playoff game before being in Seattle, or even a meaningful baseball game at that point. And I can say that because I'm a Mariners fan. Doesn't that worry you a little bit?
I would definitely say if I'm relying on James Paxton in the playoffs as a pitcher like I had to this last year, then I'm worried. Luckily, this year, we went out and signed Garrett Cole, who is absolutely reliable postseason, tons of experience. We got Tanaka, who I don't think Tanaka can give you consistently dominant starts, but he definitely can go out and pitch you a great game. And his worst game is not going to be absolute terrible. So, and then Severino, if he comes back healthier this year, I think he has all the stuff he needs to be able to be an absolute dominant pitcher if he can stay healthy. So I think we have enough pitching to get through that. That's why, when they win the title, I want it to be considered more legitimate.
When they win.
When they win.
Putting all bias aside. You're sorry, go for it, Keith.
You sounded like Braden Thorpe. You sound like Braden Thorpe right now.
Just more, informed.
Debatable. But so, Pete, I honestly, I disagree with you with having it be legitimate, with this format. I think it'd be dope for a couple of reasons. One, I think it would actually prove who the best team is. Because, say you beat a team or whatever, and then they, obviously go into the losing side of the bracket. But, say the better team loses. Because, baseball, I feel like almost more than any other sport, it's all about the hot streak. You can have a hot streak in a game. In a football game, you could be going off. In a basketball game, you have a killer game. But, baseball, I feel like you're just a lot more streaky. That's why you have, crazy, hitting streaks or whatever across games. But then players will go, a week without getting a hit or something, and so it's just more streaky. So if you were teams would play, whoever A team wins, B team loses, but then B team comes back later and then beats a team in like the championship or something, I feel like you just have to be ready, and you're going to see all sides of the team. And it's not just a team's not going to win like the Nationals. Not that the Nationals aren't a good team, but the Nationals were 500 like halfway through the season. They're a great team, but they got hot at the right time. Same with the Cardinals in 202011. We were 10.5 games. We were 10.5 games back in mid-August, and then got the wild card game, beat Atlanta, I think in Atlanta, and then I don't know, I can't remember exactly all the series
on that infield fly rule.
Yeah, and then they threw all the stuff that was in Atlanta, threw all the stuff on the field. Then we beat Philly in 5 games, and then I think the Brewers maybe in 7.
I know the Dodgers.
I can't remember for sure. A long time ago. We've been to the playoffs so many times; it's hard to keep track of all the years.
I wouldn't know.
This decade, yeah.
I don't know that feeling.
But I just feel like the better team would win, like overall, because it's not going to be like, I feel like it'd be harder to be on a hot streak because you're not facing one team over and over again. So even though it's only like 5 or 7 games, like in a baseball playoff series, you still get a feel for like, especially the bullpen. Like you're going to see the guys in the bullpen a lot more, whereas like a 2 or 3 games,
a little bit less matchup dependent too.
Yeah, and then you're playing a new team with the new bullpen. If you keep winning or even losing, like you're just seeing new guys all the time. So it's a little bit more regular season feel, but obviously at the same time, postseason. So I mean, either way, no matter how it goes, I feel like it's still going to be, or at least for me, I'll feel like it's still a legitimate title, no matter who wins. Even if the Yankees win, which would be my worst nightmare, but it's like, I mean, everyone is going up against the same odds. And this is what I told Casey this today at work, is like, no matter what the format is, there's not really a way one team can be better than another or have like a more of an advantage against another. Like, I mean, it's not like teams are set up to play a certain way. Everyone's preparing to play 162 games and then the playoffs. So it's like, no matter how we go, you're good.
To kind of piggyback off that, J-Rob, how do you feel like, how are the Cardinals right now? Like, if this roster that you're given right now and this were to happen, like, how would you be in like, we got to win now? Like, this is like a year that we have a legit shot to win a title? Or do you take it as a time to kind of develop? Like, how, because unlike Peter, we just can't buy wins. We can't buy players. We can't buy needs. Do you take this as like, what was that?
I was going to say, I think we go for it. I mean, you got Yadier Molina, who I think this is his last year, or maybe he's got one more year after this, but I'm pretty sure this is his last year under contract. And I'm sure we'll sign him again, or at least I hope we do, or I'm going to be super sad. But Yadi, and he's so great. I mean, defensively, I feel like he hasn't shown any weakness, like of slowing down or any signs of slowing down. We have Paul Goldschmidt in his second year, so he's going to be more settled in. Colton Wong just won Gold Glove. His hitting's been better, so his overall game's better. Paul DeYoung is there. Tommy Edman, he came up in the middle of the year last year, and he was slapping kids. And I do Matt Carpenter. If there's a DH, I feel like that's the role he should play because he's one of our biggest errors, or players that have the most errors. And even though his bat has sucked, I would start him if there was a DH at the DH spot. And then if he's not filling in there, like put someone else in. Like I love Matt Carpenter, but I get rid of him.
So I guess if you could make a trade, and this is kind of like bringing up the old past of like January, would you trade away prospects to get Arenado over from Colorado to St. Louis if you're making that push this year? If you think you're about to make a push, would you give up your future to win now, even with it being a shortened season?
I'll answer that for you, J-Rob. Hell yeah. When your window's open, you go for it, man. Yeah. You absolutely do that.
Well, even prospects, like looking at that, like there's Dylan Carlson, who's one of the best outfielding prospects in the league. Tyler O'Neill, that kid hits bombs for it. That guy literally looks like the Hulk. If you paint him green, people would think he's the Hulk. You don't need to put muscles on or anything. Like he's got it. Lane Thomas is a stud. Tommy Edman can play infield, outfield. Like we just have a lot of deep players. Like obviously there's only 3 players who can play in the outfield, but if you have Dylan Carlson, Harrison Bader, who I think is probably going to win, honestly, center field Gold Glove this year, and then Tyler O'Neill or Lane Thomas. Like I would include Dexter Fowler, Matt Carpenter, and then even throw in like a young player or whatever, or even a couple young players to get Arenado. Like, I mean, granted, I'd hope it wasn't like a 1-year deal, especially with this kind of year. But like, if it was for him to finish out the rest of his contract, because doesn't he have a clause, Arenado? Like,
Yeah,
at
I
the
think
end
you're
of this
right.
year, he wants out.
That's the one weird thing.
Yeah.
I was answering thinking it was more of like a long-term addition, but yeah, he does have like an opt-out after his like third year. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. So, and I think
can
that's
you
why.
imagine?
Go for it, Pete.
Can you imagine if this year happens and Mookie Betts just leaves the Dodgers and they gave up all that and he never even ends up playing for them or plays like a weird half season type of deal? That would suck. But
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'd be worried about. Like, and obviously they couldn't control that then, or no one was going to do what was going to happen when that trade happened.
yeah.
But
see, I think on the touch on the Mookie Betts situation, I feel like you already have. It's kind of like J-Rob situation. You're bringing in that all-star MVP player to complement with Cody Bellinger, Justin Turner, Kike Hernandez, and that young core of like Walker Buehler, and kind of make his last push with Clayton Kershaw. Like, I think if I'm Betts, I want to stay in LA because that division, no offense, Jake, like, you're the best team in that division. Like, there's not really a comparison. So I think if you're like going to win now state with the Dodgers, like, you're re-signing at least for like a 2-year deal while you have Kershaw, while you have that core together. Because I mean, I think the Padres with the up and coming, especially with Tatis and Machado, and just the young core the Padres have, like, they're going to run that division soon. Because the Rockies, let's be honest, they're a shithole. Like, they're a dumpster fire now. The D-backs are a weird, like, kind of grind team, almost like that Grizzlies in the NBA, like just that grind city kind of deal. And the Giants are old. Like, they're kind of in that rebuild, almost like the Mariners stage. So I think like this is the time where if you're the Dodgers, like, you want to win 1 or 2 more, like, Betts is that piece that could just put them over the top. I mean, I would take the Dodgers over the Yankees if Betts is on that team.
yeah, well, I also think with the Dodgers, like, they're in the same boat as the Yankees. I feel like they're like pretty much 1 and 2, Yankees, Dodgers, for like, if they want a player, they'll go get him. Like, they'll spend the money because they have the money to spend. So, like, as long as the Dodgers put up even if they don't win, if they put up a good competitive year and they still have, I mean, the Dodgers will still have pretty much all their pieces. I think Mookie Betts resigns there unless someone else offers him like ridiculously more money. Just because, like, one, in any sport, players always want to play in LA just because of the place it is. And then 2, LA typically has a winning team, like for the Dodgers. So it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's just an ideal location, I feel like, for players, especially if they're winning, or if the team's winning. So I don't know why he wouldn't stay unless there's like something personal that happens or he doesn't get along with like players or things like that. But I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if he wants to just go after the most money to like Harper or Machado, then
That's what's going to decide it. Like,
with their unlimited money, like, you still have to pay the rest of your roster. So you can't, like,
you're going to have to pay Bellinger and Buehler and stuff.
But I think you're still. The thing is, I think Bellinger and Buehler are still on the rookie deals for, I think, at least maybe 2 more seasons. And so if you can get Betts to sign like a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal, before you have to pay Bellinger and Buehler.
Yeah,
I mean, no, I don't see it happening either.
Betts isn't going to sign a 1-year or 2-year deal. Like, he's already come out and said, like, he has to go out because he knows he's going to be the
Sox got rid of him.
Yeah, he said he knows he needs to go to get the biggest contract possible for the players union to drive up like the rest of everybody else's money as well. And that's exactly what Peter's saying. That's why the Red Sox moved on from him, because they don't want the risk of losing him for nothing. So
that's an Arenado situation to bring it back to J-Rob is like, yes, going forward it's great, but like, you want to have a consistently great team rather than like.
Well, but I mean, that's why I brought up the money with LA though. I feel like they're a team that's going to put that out, even though you have Bellinger and those other players. Like, they're still a couple years away, and like they'll have time to like.
I would say I think they traded for him anticipating making a gigantic offer. So
and to Casey's point, the Bryce Harper's had a video where he's talked about his offseason when he was a free agent, and like LA approached him with like a 3-4 year deal with like high AAV, and they could very do much the same with Mookie Betts, so that might be enticing enough for him.
I mean, all I'm going to say is Seattle's got Canoes off its contract. So, I mean, we got money to spend.
You guys could get Mookie.
Come to the Northwest. You want to come to the Pacific Northwest? We'll take you.
All right.
So, Jake, I guess Let's hear your side of this, Jake.
I'll keep mine brief. I'll just kind of talk about a different topic because I think you guys talked about a lot of interesting things. I think the one thing that came to my mind during like Peter's when he was talking about his stuff and he was talking about the starting pitching and stuff, we did talk about the Yankees bullpen, which is great. And I think that might be like, for me, looking from the outside, looking at the Yankees, the weird thing about, so sorry, I'm getting, my thoughts are all jumbling up. I'm like, oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Let's talk about that. This past postseason with the World Series of the Astros and Nationals, we saw a very different approach from the Nationals, where they were very reliant on the starting pitching and they rode the horses. Like, we haven't seen that in the postseason for a little bit. But bottom line is that they rode the best pitching options that they had. And with the Yankees, I feel like Aaron Boone might be like the biggest question mark of whether or not the pitching is going to perform. Like, when is Aaron Boone like making the switches? Like, he's dumping the starting pitcher to go to the reliever, and is that reliever going to perform, or the reliever after him and stuff? Like, we saw AJ Hinch get criticized for not going to Garrett Cole or to polling get Zach Greinke when he was like on point and stuff. So I feel like that's a potential question for like just the Yankees. I think the Yankees have enough talent across the board in the staff, but it's finicky because I don't think one is more lopsided heavy over the other. Because besides Cole, I think Cole's like the one you just like, you let him go until his arm falls off.
Yeah.
But outside of that, my other point I was going to bring up with this format is going to be the bottom tier teams that are now forced to field a 30-man roster. And they're going to be like, hey, we're not going to win. So we're just not going to pay people. We're just going to have these quad A players who would never see the major leagues fill out the staff. And like the bottom end is going to be even like more extreme than we've like seen in the past, just because they're going to like save their pennies, because guess what? There's no fans in the seats. We're not making money this year. So why am I going to pay extra money? So that financial aspect from owners, it's very selfish, but it's very prevalent in some of the major league teams across the board, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a business, so.
Well, I remember last year seeing stuff about how, I can't remember what teams, but literally having like 5,000 or less fans at some of the games. And it was early season. I think it was in some of the cities that are more north, so it was like super cold. But like, yeah, Baltimore, I don't know how many fans they average, but there's definitely teams that like average super low attendance every game. So, but yeah, I mean, they're going to have to take a pay cut for sure. Or just like, it's still going to make a difference even with low attendance.
Yeah. I think either way, we're all hoping for that 2020 season to actually happen, because I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to be able to watch baseball and to see the best players play out and not have to miss like a Fernando Tatis season, or even for Dodger fans, Mookie Betts to be able to play in a Dodger uniform, and like, they're just star players.
Mike Trout year.
Yeah, prime Mike Trout year. I was telling my little brother this, started bringing back to Tatis. It's like, if we miss out on a Tatis year, we're missing out on like on a high stolen base, like speed, like year of Tatis, like Trout had early in his career, where he was like stealing 40 bags. Like that's not longevity there. Like, we don't get that very much. So
yeah,
I'm disappointed to miss some of like the young players who are like coming up, because that's my biggest concern, I think, overall, is minor league development going into this next year, and how will the minor leagues stabilize, because I have a fear that some of the lower leagues might get completely wiped out and never come back, sadly. But we'll kind of just wrap it up. We're kind of running a bit long. Do you guys have any last words? I'll go to Casey first. Casey, you have anything you want to say to the people before we sign off?
Go M's.
Go M's.
Go.
J-Rob, what about you?
All I'm going to say is Cardinals over Yankees in 6 in the World Series, or if it goes to 7-game series, whatever. We'll beat them in 6.
Peter?
I'd just like to start off by saying fuck the Cardinals. 4th best team in their own division, so good luck with that. 27 titles for a reason. That's how I'll end it. 27 titles for a reason.
Beautiful. Well, we want to all thank you guys for listening. And thank you guys for joining me for this first episode of Shaggin' Balls. Goodbye, Internet.